And we're going to dive into a list from ESPN.com that takes quarterback play for each franchise the last, 50 plus years in the Super Bowl era. Where do the Vikings rank historically compared to other teams, the totality of their quarterback play in different categories? But a quick thank you to Dennis Kirk for being our partner here on Purple Daily. And the Patriot Ride is back for at least one last ride here. This year, you build your team, you pick your route, you ride. The Patriot Ride since 2006 has always been about thanking our veterans, recognizing our servicemen and women, and honoring our fallen soldiers. And this is what the Patriot Ride represents. This is why the event has meant so much to so many over the years. The 2020 Patriot Ride wants you to ride, to share, to remember. And here's your chance at patriotride.org, patriotride.org, where you can also donate. Welcome into Purple Daily. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, and Declan Goff. And boys, ESPN.com has gone through this exercise. Let's see who wrote this. Doug Clawson.
Okay.
I don't know who Doug Clawson is, but Doug Clawson went through a lot of quarterback history in the NFL. They went through, at ESPN.com, through Doug Clawson, the best and worst quarterback play of the Super Bowl era, ranking all 32 teams based on 4 criteria items here. So they're basically trying to answer which NFL teams had the best and worst quarterback play of the past 50 plus years based on overall performance among all the quarterbacks for each franchise, peak performance. So like if you had Tom Brady for 20 years, that helps.
Yes.
Continuity. So the number of different quarterbacks a team starts over that period. Teams that constantly shuffle quarterbacks experience more misery and are sometimes considered the laughingstock of the league, like the Browns, like the Bears, etc. And then there's a bonus category of each franchise's best and worst quarterback among those. So real quick, where do you think, just off the top of your heads, have you guys looked at this list yet, or can I quiz you?
I have not.
I have not, no.
Okay, so this would be great. Where do you think the Vikings should rank historically, 1 through 32 teams, Super Bowl era, total quarterback play?
Super Bowl era. Well, that's a lot of, they got Francis back in, 72?
Yep.
So he was in the Super Bowl era. He went to 3 of the 4. Cap was the other quarterback for the Kansas City loss.
And they've had peak Brett Favre for a year.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Dante.
it's not, my initial inclination is probably way too negative. So 1 through 32, I'm going to say they rank I'm going to say like 17 or something like that.
Yeah,
Jax?
I would say with all the peak performances they've had, and no one's really outside of the Ponder era really been train wrecky bad. So I will say like 12th. I'll go 12th.
You guys are right. You guys have set the goalpost. It's 15th.
Okay.
The Vikings rank 15th. I'll do the read up here. Best quarterback, Fran Tarkenton. Easy choice. The worst quarterback. Who do you think the worst quarterback is according to this article?
Is there a minimum number of starts for set honor?
They picked like guys who started a season as the starting quarterback. So like, what's his name? Backup guy Spurgeon Wynn doesn't count.
Yeah, or Josh
right?
Freeman,
Okay.
who started one game, wouldn't count.
It's like guys who were like a starting quarterback for a season.
Dex, you want to try it first?
I'll go Ponder.
It's Ponder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Christian Ponder, a first-round pick in 2011. Ponder had his only decent season with the Vikings in 2012, and even that was like, oh, Ponder's last 4 games. Yeah, in which he was literally just like riding Adrian Peterson's shoulder pads for 4 games.
And he played so well, his arm broke. His bicep just gave out.
Tavares would be near the top of that list as well.
For worst quarterbacks?
Yeah, all the chances he got
Actually,
from Brad.
who would be like impromptu Mount Rushmore? Who's of guys who were the starting quarterback for a large chunk of the season, or like were trusted to be the starter, not because of an emergency backup? What's that Mount Rushmore for the Vikings?
Ponder, Tavares to me. Do you know who makes it? Because I believe he started 6 games before he finally got benched. McNabb, who was just god-awful here.
That's a good one.
It was awful.
What about Archie? Archie Manning is mentioned in this write-up. He had the one season. Was it the Les Steckel year?
He didn't play that much, though, right? They picked him up, and he got sacked like 11 times in a game at Soldier Field in '84, I believe it was.
Yeah, it says he only made a couple of starts.
But I don't think he played enough. Who would be the fourth one?
Was Jim McMahon bad for the Vikings?
He wasn't great.
Yeah.
He certainly wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't know that he would make that god-awful Mount Rushmore, though.
And the 93 Vikings, so that was the 1993 season. The 93 Vikings were solid, and Jim McMahon wasn't.
The Denny Green teams actually offensively were all pretty damn good because he was a good offensive mind. Is there an 80s? I mean, you had Kramer starting, Wade Wilson starting, but they would not qualify for that. Or
Steve Dills in '83.
Did Dills start that whole season?
He started 12 games.
Steve Dills.
Yeah, that's probably as close as you can come.
Sorry, Stevie Dills. Yeah, the Vikings in the 4 categories, which is overall quarterback production.
Yep.
The Vikings ranked 4th, even though they don't have the stability. They ranked 16th and 16th in continuity and Pro Bowl caliber seasons. But I think it's a testament to, even though the Vikings have, like, since Fran Tarkenton and Tommy Kramer went, so they had stability through the 70s, stability through the 80s. The 90s, there was literally a different starting quarterback like every year or two. The 2000s, kind of the same way. You've tried to find franchise guys, injuries. You've had the Brett Favre. So for the lack of stability in my lifetime since the late 80s, early 90s,
Yep.
for the Vikings to have had as many peak quarterback seasons as they have, that's why they're higher on this list than some of the other franchises.
And it goes back to the fact that across the board, the Vikings have not train wrecked much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's been instability, there's been embarrassing off the field moments for sure. But if you think about, just flat out train wrecks, you've got a handful in franchise history.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The did you know section of the Vikings piece of this was the Vikings have never had much continuity at quarterback. They've had 19 different starting quarterbacks in the postseason in the Super Bowl era. Think about that. The Vikings have had 19 different starting quarterbacks.
What's the Lions?
In the postseason.
What's the Bears?
Well, the Lions haven't been to the postseason 19 times, I don't think.
That's true,
ever.
postseason, yeah.
So, and those 19 different starting quarterbacks in the postseason in the Super Bowl era is 7 more than any other team.
Wow.
They've had a different starting signal caller in each of the past 7 times they have reached the playoffs. Let's do that exercise real quick here. So Kirk Cousins.
Wait, the last 7 times?
The last 7 times they've gone to the playoffs, they've had 7 different starting quarterbacks. Joe Webb.
Joe Webb started the game at
Teddy.
Green Bay. Teddy started the 2015 game.
T-Jack.
Yep.
So we're at 4.
T-Jack started against
08.
Philadelphia in 08. That's correct.
I got Cousins on the list.
Um,
Keenum,
Culpepper.
Yep, Case Keenum.
Dante. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
90s.
George.
Brett Favre.
Favre.
Favre, Warren Moon. If you go back that far,
I think so. Webb,
Right?
Teddy, Cousins, T-Jack, Keenum, Dante, and Favre would be the 7 guys
Okay.
they're talking about on this list. Because Dante made more than Dante started 41 donut, and Dante started
Green Bay.
they won the game at Green Bay.
The loss against Philly. That's that year, yeah, when they beat Green Bay in the wild card game.
That's an amazing factoid right there. So, all right, who do you guys think should be number 1, 2, and 3 on this list? Best quarterback play per franchise in the Super Bowl era.
So Tarkington is 1.
No.
He's
sucking team.
I mean the teams.
Oh, the teams.
Yep,
Patriots would be 1, is my guess.
they are number 1. Yes.
Okay.
So
They've got Jim Plunkett as the worst quarterback in Patriots history. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Raiders,
Oakland,
I believe.
beat Jaws and the Eagles in 1980.
Yep. When you have the greatest quarterback of all time for 20 years, that's how you get to the top spot on this list.
I gotta imagine the Niners are in that top 3 with Montana and
The
Young.
Niners are not in the top 3. The Niners are 5th on this list.
I mean, I can see them being top 5, but I'm shocked they're not the top 3.
But if
hold
you
on
think
a
about it,
second.
so Steve Young and Joe Montana from 1980 all the way through the end of the 90s. So for 20 of the 50 years, they've had major stability.
And
But in the 60s, 70s, and 2000s, they've had very little stability. They think about the 2000s, for instance. This is a 20-year chunk of the 2000s. Kaepernick for a few years, Alex Smith for a few years.
Jeff Garcia wasn't horrible.
Jeff Garcia had 2 or 3 decent years in like late 90s, early 2000s. But it's been kind of a revolving door even for them. Like Trent Dilfer was their starter for a minute.
So the Patriots are 1, and we're missing 2 and 3. Hold on.
You're missing 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Again, this is the entire Super Bowl era. One of them is really obvious.
Packers. Yeah, that's of course.
Think about the Packers.
Yeah.
If you're like a 60-year-old Packers fan, you had Bart Starr for like 15 years or whatever it was, 10, 15 years.
Yep.
And then you're like in the 80s, you had some uncertainty, and then Don Majkowski was the starting quarterback.
Oh, you know who else? Steelers.
Favre Rodgers.
Steelers have to be.
They are not in the top 5.
Really?
The Steelers are. I'm scrolling down here. Oh my. 11th.
I'm surprised by
The
that.
Steelers are 11th.
Roethlisberger, Bradshaw.
But there was a gap there between those two.
You guys are missing 3 of the top 5.
I mean, wait. So
No, I'm sorry. You got the Packers. You're missing 2 of the top 5. You're missing number 3 and number 4.
Denver, I mean, Elway was good for 20 years, and then they had some bleep at the. Well, Jake Plummer wasn't bad.
Jay
Jake
Cutler
Cutler wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Is it Denver?
It's not Denver.
No, if San Francisco's not on that list, Denver wasn't going to be. But I don't know.
Well, there's another really obvious one. There's like in our lifetimes, just when you think of stability at quarterback.
Oh, Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
The Colts.
Okay.
Peyton Manning into Andrew Luck and then even into Jacoby Brissett and Phillip Rivers. They've had high caliber quarterback play for basically 20 plus years. The Dallas Cowboys are number 3 on the list.
Okay.
The Colts are number 4. And so Dallas Cowboys, you go back to Roger Staubach for the entire 70s period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then some instability throughout the 80s when they were a disaster. But then Troy Aikman throughout the 90s and Super Bowl championships. And people make fun of him, but Tony Romo was a damn good quarterback for a large chunk in the 2000s. So here's the write-up. They've got, Roger Staubach. They've had a handful of star quarterbacks to choose from, namely a trio of Staubach, Aikman, and Romo. Romo didn't do enough in the postseason to be considered the Cowboys' best quarterback, but they basically give you 3 decades of top caliber starting quarterbacks. And then there's a remember section that Ryan Leaf actually made 3 starts for the Dallas Cowboys.
How's our old buddy doing these days?
In 2001 for Quincy Carter. Quincy Carter was voted the worst quarterback in Dallas Cowboys history.
Poor Ryan Leaf, man. Thought he had his life on track.
He made a couple appearances on our show. So the rest of the list is Seattle Seahawks are number 6.
Yep.
With Russell Wilson as the best quarterback. Drew Brees and the Saints are number 7. But I'm trying to think beyond Drew Brees. Like, the Saints have had.
I got to be honest
Manning.
with you. I'm Team Dex here. I think San Francisco got screwed.
Yeah.
That was a long stretch of 2 quarterbacks who were both Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks.
All right, here's what's crazy, okay?
I'm with Declan on this.
The Steelers are 7th. The Steelers had Terry Bradshaw for 10, 15 years, whatever
70s.
it was.
Basically the 70s.
And then they have
70s.
had Ben Roethlisberger for like the last 16 years.
So how are they not higher?
They're 11th. The Bengals are 8th on this list.
No, see this list. Sorry. This list lost all credibility. So what's his reasoning for the Bengals?
8th. Okay.
Ken Anderson and
Boomer Esiason. And
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton has been stable.
No.
It's ridiculous.
No, I'm done with this list. Seriously.
The New York Giants are
That's
number
ridiculous.
9.
You know what that is?
Phil Sims.
He's trying to get
You can't put the
clicks.
Bengals 8th on this list.
No, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely. I think his Viking ranking is very fair. I really do. The Vikings are not a train wreck. They've had instability, but as a franchise, they've been pretty stable. I think 15 is very fair. But San Francisco, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, that is all bleeped up.
You want the bottom of the list?
Yeah, let's say who's like the bottom 5.
All right, who's the bottom? Give me the bottom 3.
Well, Cleveland's got to be the last.
Cleveland is 30th, so so they're the 3rd worst.
The Bears probably should be.
The Bears are 32nd.
Wow, 32nd.
Yeah. Well,
I guess.
Name a
There's
top.
Okay, here's a question.
Have the Bears ever had anyone you would consider a top 5 quarterback?
Sid Luckman.
Ever?
Just go back
Since
to
the 40s.
Sid Luckman.
That's pre-Super Bowl era.
Good point. Does Matthew Stafford's stability at the quarterback position take Detroit out of the bottom? Because otherwise they definitely belong in there. And the franchise does just absolutely stink.
Yeah, they are 25th on this list.
Stafford, to his credit, has tried.
And then they reference in the worst quarterbacks, they reference Andre Ware and Joey Harrington as the 2 options there.
Joey Harrington does. I can confirm. Saw him play quite a bit.
The New York Jets are 26th, despite starting this exercise with Joe Namath. Joe Namath, one of the most overrated quarterbacks of all time, by the way. Guy has like 50 more interceptions.
Man was a sex symbol. Bite your tongue.
Jacksonville, are they in the bottom 5?
They are not. Jacksonville's actually had, like, with David Garrard, they have Mark Brunell.
Mark Brunell was solid.
Hasn't been a train wreck for Jacksonville, and they haven't been around for that long. Yeah, Jacksonville is 22nd on the list.
You know, is Houston on there?
Yeah, Houston's like 24th.
Okay. All right.
So who's the other?
So Baltimore's
bottom
28th. Team? Joe Flacco. Baltimore's 28th despite having multiple Super Bowl wins.
You know,
that shows how great their defense is.
Yeah, I'm growing tired of this, though. I'm not agreeing with it really whatsoever.
The Cardinals are 29. They had Kurt Warner for 5 minutes and Carson Palmer for a while, but Matt Leinart,
right.
That makes sense.
Josh Rosen.
I can see that.
The Cardinals in the Super Bowl era have had a lot of garbage at quarterback. That is accurate.
Kevin Cobb.
We already went over the Browns at 30. So you're looking for the second to last team, which would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh.
Their best quarterback is more famous for being a quarterback for a different team.
Doug Williams.
Is that
Absolutely.
And is that all 5? Or are you missing 1?
No, that's the bottom 5 there.
Okay.
Yeah, their worst quarterback, Steve Young. Steve Young, before he went to the Niners, was a disaster.
Yeah, because in Tampa Bay Buccaneer creamsicle fashion at that time, they bleeped it up.
I thought the Jets would for sure be on there. I guess Chad Pennington wasn't an awful guy.
The worst quarterback in Bears history, according to this, is Cade McNown, who was the 12th overall pick in 1999. Well,
there's a lot to choose from. In the Super Bowl era, Chicago has had some absolutely awful quarterbacks.
Well, that's kind of a fun exercise there, and it makes you feel better every time you think, the Vikings can't find a franchise quarterback. Well, look at these other teams.
We could re-rank those very simply.
Maybe we should do that.
There are mistakes. There were mistakes made.
Do you guys agree, though, the Patriots probably do have to be number one?
Yeah.
I might actually put the Packers number one. When you have 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era, I might put the Packers. The Packers are the luckiest franchise in the NFL, hands down. And their fans are too stupid.
Hey, Ted Thompson would tell you he knows what he's doing, okay?
Yeah, congratulations, Ted. You had Aaron Rodgers fall in your lap. He didn't swing the trade for Brett Favre.
No, that was Ron Wolf.
Yep.
Great GM. Hall of Fame GM.
All right, well, thanks for helping us through that exercise there on Purple Daily. I'm Phil Mackey, Judd Zolgad, Declan Goff, and we'll see you next time.